Hey guys, so today I'm going to speak to you guys about some of the books that I recently read in the last couple of weeks. Growing up, I loved reading. I used to read all the time. And I'd say when I went into my 20s, when I went to college, when I started working, that focus kind of just shifted and I haven't read a decent book in a very long time. So I'm not proud of that, but back now, reading more than ever, and I'm excited. My personal favorite genre of books is mystery thrillers. Then I also like fantasies and then contemporary fiction. I want to branch out to different genres, but kind of in my comfort zone here. So a lot of the books I'm gonna mention are mystery thriller and one or two fantasy books. So stay tuned. So the first books that I read was Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight by Maas. It's in the Throne of Glass series. I love that book. So it's a fantasy novel, but I love it because it has, you know, a little bit of mystery in it. So what the book is about is Selena, the main character. By the way, I loved her. Selena, I loved her. She is an assassin and she's caught for something, and she's being punished, and she's serving out her sentence in a mine, and it has harsh conditions. People usually die there, and she's there for a couple of months, and then the crown prince, he comes to her with a proposition. He's like, hey, I want you to compete in this tournament my dad's having to get the best assassin, you know, he can find, and you guys are going to be competing with other assassins as well. And basically, if you win, you serve my dad for X amount of years for his assassin, to be his assassin, and then you win your freedom. So she's intrigued by it and she accepts the offer, and then things go down. Some love, but something else that I loved about it, there's not a lot of like too much love mushiness in it. It's just good, solid book. I currently am reading, I started the third book, but it's a lot longer than the first two books, and I'm like, okay, can't sit through this right now. So I took a pause on it and I started reading other books. But Crown of Midnight and Throne of Glass by Maas, definitely rated a solid 4.5 stars, both of those. I definitely like Throne of Glass a lot better. I found Crown of Midnight to me was a little bit boring in the beginning, but the ending in the middle definitely made up for it. So yeah. So the next book that I read is A Little Life by Hanya, Yanagihara. That book, so that is a contemporary fiction novel. It is basically about four friends, and they all met in college. They all have different backgrounds, and each chapter basically focuses on a different character for the most part, but it mainly focuses on two of the friends and their relationships with each other. It's a very beautiful book. It is coming of age story. It deals with sexual abuse. There's a lot of hard topics in the book. It also deals with the meaning of friendship and the characters. So the main character in the book, it was just, by the end of it, I was bawling. I don't know, you guys need to read it if you love contemporary fiction. Again, like for me, it's not my first choice of genre, but I really did enjoy the book. I would rate it, it's a very long book, but I don't normally like long books because a lot of the times they're just drawn out, but that book was beautiful. And it's a very bittersweet book, and yeah, I don't know, I don't have a lot to say about it other than that it's a great book and you should totally read it. So the next one that I read is A Silent Patient by Michaelides. So A Silent Patient, that one came highly recommended by people. It was on a lot of different recommendation lists, and that was one of the books that I started reading in the beginning of the year, but I just couldn't finish it. So I'm like, okay, just sit, finish the book, like you've been reading it, you keep putting it down, just push through. So the book, it was kind of like I'm kind of teetering on different sides. So the reason why I wasn't the biggest fan of it is because I found that in the beginning, what I thought I was reading, I'm like, what's the purpose of this? Like, what is the purpose of this storyline? Like, this specific storyline, because there's different kind of, basically what the book is about is her name I believe is Alicia Berenson. She is a painter. I believe she's a famous painter, and her husband is a fashion photographer. And what happens is that her husband is found murdered in their home, and she's the one who was there, and she is the one who's charged and convicted with his murder. And she's gone silent. She's refusing to talk. She's basically they send her to a mental health facility to serve out her sentence. And I forget, Theo is the psychotherapist. He gets a job as a psychotherapist, of course, at the mental health facility Alicia is at, and he takes her on as a patient. He's very intrigued by her, and he wants to know more about Alicia and why exactly she's not talking. And he's kind of playing detective and psychotherapist at the same time. So I don't know, I thought it was boring in the beginning. I'm like, okay, what am I reading? Like, this is boring. Like, scanning through the pages, I'm like, I want to get to the juicy stuff. But the reason why I'm teetering at like to like, oh my god, this is so good, is the twist at the end. The twist at the end. Usually I'm able to see like, okay, I kind of know where this is leading, I know where this is going. And then the way that the author gave you like subtle, no hints whatsoever, he gave you like other people to look at as to like who might have murdered her husband, but who actually murdered and how it came about. And just like, you think you're reading one thing, and then I had to read the page again. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? It was a really, really good twist. It took me by surprise. Usually I'm able to like find out kind of how it's gonna play out, or I'm not usually shocked, but that it blew me away. So that's why I'm kind of just in the middle about it. I personally rated it a 3-star in the beginning, but looking back, I probably would have rated it a 3.5. So that is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. So the next one is also a thriller. This is What Lies Between Us by John Maas. You guys, this book, so it was actually, I saw Michelle, she's here on YouTube. I'll link her video and channel below. So she did a video, and she talked about some of the books that she's recently read as well, and she raved about this book. And what had me very intrigued is that the way that the author writes the book, at the end of a chapter, he has you wanting to read the next one. Then you finish that one, then you want to read the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. This, I flew through this book. He had so much different plot twists in this book. It kept you so entertained. Yeah, I love this book so much. It was recently released too in 2020. If you love your thrillers, I know you will enjoy the book. The synopsis, without giving too much away, is that these two women, one is holding the other one captive, and throughout the book you are taken to the past of their relationship, and then the near past, so like a couple of years before, and then now her time in captivity, and just everything. And then each chapter is focused on, I think it's narrated remembered by each of the characters. And yeah, you're thinking like, oh, this is an unreliable narrator, this one's it, and you're like, whose side am I on? So the book is, and usually I don't even read the epilogues of books, but this one I decided to read it because I'm like, this book had so much different bombs in it, let me just read it. And then I'm glad I read the epilogue. it wasn't nonsense. It was really good. So What Lies Between Us by Jonathan Mars, go check it out. So the next book that I read is also, again, if you guys haven't seen a theme here already, it's Dangerous Girls by Abigail Haas. I was watching a video on YouTube and it was a thriller recommendations book. I don't remember who it was exactly, but they recommended it and I had it in my TBR for a while, and I'm like, okay, let me get around to this. And I don't know, the book, now looking at the genre, it kind of makes sense. I probably would have liked the book, I would have enjoyed the book much more if I was 16 reading it. It's a young adult book. It's mystery, thriller, not really thriller, it's like more mystery, like who did it. It's heavily influenced by the Michaelides case. If you're not familiar, she was in Italy. She had a roommate, and her roommate was found murdered in their home, and her, Amanda Knox, and her boyfriend, they, I believe, were charged with her murder. And I don't know if she was either acquitted or if she was found guilty, but then her conviction was reversed. I'm not too familiar with the case exactly, how it ends, but I know she's free right now. So it's about Anna, I believe Anna is the main character. Elise is the one who is found dead in their vacation home. They are vacationing in Aruba for spring break, and Tate, who's Anna's boyfriend, is also charged, and Anna is charged for Elise's murder. And throughout the book, you are taken to Elise and Anna's, how they met, their relationship through high school, also Anna and Tate's relationship, and then their time on vacation, and then also the trial as well. The ending was kind of like, again, like I probably would have enjoyed it. I wrote in my Goodreads review, I would have enjoyed watching it on Netflix or reading it when I was 16, but that makes sense, young adult book. But Dangerous Girls, it's a very straightforward book, and yeah, by Abigail Haas. I realize I talk with my hands a lot. I apologize, but I'll try to keep it together. Okay, so the next book that I read is Where the Crawdads Sings by Delia Owens. So this is another contemporary fiction. It's based in the 1950s and 60s. It's about Kaya. Her name is Kaya, of course. And she lives in the marsh of North Carolina. And the specific area that she lives, it's in poverty. There's a lot of crime that happens there. And the people who she loves leave her. And that's what she is accustomed to. And it's a coming of age story. It's her overcoming her circumstances, and I loved her. She was a very strong, independent. She made do of what she had, and it has a little bit of mystery. That's why I was more intrigued by the book. Initially when I picked it up, I thought it was more of a thriller book, but it's definitely more contemporary historical fiction, and it's just again like a coming of age story, and it has poetry throughout. So if you love poetry, if you love words, basically, if you just love description of the environment or just every little perfect detail of something to give you a clear picture, then you would love this book. I personally, because it wasn't my specific taste, I rated it a 3-star, but on not Netflix, on Goodreads, the average rating is a 4.49. So again, don't let it discourage you from reading it. I did enjoy it, but it wasn't a book that I'm used to. So usually the books have me at the edge of my seat. This one didn't, but not to say that it wasn't a good book, if that makes sense. The next book that I read is The Woman in the Window by AJ Finn. That book, I like that book because it was kind of different than, it really reminded me of like Gone Girl, not Gone Girl. It reminded me of. So the next book that I read is The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. That book, I rated it a 4 out of 5 star. I really did enjoy it. I flew by it. I flew through the book. The book is about a woman. She has agoraphobia. She has panic attacks when she leaves her home, so she's confined in her house. And she went through a traumatic experience that gave her PTSD, and for 10 months she's been dealing with it, and she's been making do of not leaving outside. So she's also a psychologist, specifically dealing with children, but she's not currently working as a psychologist with children. She left her practice, and she watches people. She watches her neighbors. She's very intrigued by them. And this family comes and moves in across from her, and basically she's very intrigued by them, and she meets the mom, she meets the son, she also meets the father, and kind of one by one. And something happens one day as she's looking through a window. She thinks she sees something, she's pretty sure of it, and then she's kind of like, did this really happen? So the book is kind of like, did it happen, did it not happen, what really happened? The ending kind of took me by surprise. I haven't read an ending like that, so that's why I was like, wow. It did blow me away, it did have me at the edge of my seat. I wasn't bored reading the book. Sometimes when I'm just bored, I don't know, I just don't enjoy it as much. So I did really enjoy the book. It has a 3.94 rating on Goodreads, the average rating. And yeah, it is a really good book. I recommend you read it. It's a very light read. So The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. The last book that I'm going to mention today is A Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. That one I kept seeing in thriller recommendations book, and what the book is about, without giving too much away, is this man. He's sitting in the airport at, I believe, Heathrow Airport in London, and he's at the bar chilling, waiting for his flight, and this woman comes and sits beside him, spark up a conversation. They're talking about their life without giving too much away, and they start talking about his marriage, and he's like, hey, sometimes I hate my wife, I want to kill her. And she's like, hey, do you mean that? Because if you do, I can help you. So that's the start of the book, and a lot of back and forth happens throughout the book. There's a plot twist in the middle of the book that I wasn't expecting. I was like, ooh. But then after that, I felt like it just kind of went downhill. It was like, it was going on a steep up and then just downhill from that. The ending, it was like, oh yeah, okay, I had a feeling that was gonna happen. I don't know, it was very plain to me. It didn't have me at the edge of my seat after. I didn't enjoy it that much. I don't know, it didn't intrigue me. I wish it did, but it didn't, and I rated it a 3 stars. If this was a movie, like, this should be adapted to a movie, in my opinion. This is a very like it's cat and mouse, you know. But yeah, A Kind Worth Killing by Peter Swanson. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you guys want to like and subscribe down below. If you guys also want to recommend me some books to read. One of the hardest things to do is choose a book once I'm done one book. I want to start one right away, but then I have to decide which one I want to read. So if you could kindly write and comment, please, about some books that I read that you guys love. I'll try to read them, and yeah, see you guys soon.